All right, let's get started then. I am very pleased to welcome to this first ever National Italian American Summit meeting over 300 organizations. I'm both excited and proud to be participating in this meeting, as each of you should feel a sense of pride as well for the important role you're assuming in helping to unite the Italian American community. The response to this meeting has far exceeded our expectations. As I just stated, we are now up to 314 organizations that are participating in this meeting. And we're not only have organizations here from states where you would expect to find large numbers of Italian Americans like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Illinois, but we have organizations with us from states where you might not expect to find many Italian Americans, including Hawaii, Idaho, Oregon, Tennessee, and Alabama. We have nearly every state in the country represented in this meeting today. My name is Basil Russo. I currently serve as president of the Conference of Presidents of Major Italian American Organizations, which is the group sponsoring this meeting. The conference is made up of 50 of the largest and most influential Italian American organizations throughout the country. The conference believes its overriding mission is to ensure that all of our organizations provide mutual support and assistance to one another in our respective efforts to preserve our Italian American heritage. Irrespective of what each of our organizations' particular mission might be, we believe that the more supportive we all are of one another, the greater our likelihood of success. And the success of each one of our organizations helps to ensure that our Italian American heritage will be preserved and that as a group, we will have a meaningful impact on shaping our country's ever-evolving culture. We all need to remember that unity is essential to our success. During this meeting, we will have speakers address three critical topics. First, how do we fix a fragmented Italian America? Second, how do we reconnect with our younger generations? And third, how do we move forward in our fight to save Columbus? Our intention is to provide some background information on each of these issues so that we can then create collaborative working groups that each of you can participate in. These groups will collectively formulate a policy on what we need to do to effectively address these issues moving forward. We need a game plan, we need a roadmap, and we're going to construct that together. In addition to formulating our plan of action moving forward, we need a critical tool to implement our plan. That tool will be unveiled today as well. It's a new website called ItalianAmericaOnline.com, and it will shortly be explained to you in great detail. I want to make one point clear before we begin to discuss the topics of today's meeting. There's no hidden agenda here. We're not concerned whether any of your organizations join the Conference of Presidents or not, and we certainly aren't looking for money from any organizations. Our only agenda here is to find a way to unite the Italian American community across our country so we can speak with a louder and more influential voice in our efforts to preserve our heritage, values, and customs. I'm now going to ask Dr. Frank DeFrank, who serves as president of Unico National, which is the largest Italian American service organization in our country, to talk to us about the importance of establishing a sense of national unity. Frank?
Thanks, Basil. Hello, everyone. It's good to go first, so everybody's still awake. As you may already know, the Italian American community has not been very successful in promoting our agenda because we have not been as well organized as other groups have been. For too many years, our organizations have felt that we were in competition with one another often feeling threatened by each other, and at times even feeling jealous of one another's successes. But that old school mindset has placed us at a tremendous disadvantage in our country. As a community, we have been left behind, while other groups have had a major impact influencing America's culture and politics. If Italian Americans are to assume an important role in our society, we will need to speak with a louder, clearer voice at the national level when promoting our culture, our values, and our traditions. Recall the old proverb, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That is precisely why the Conference of Presidents has taken the initiative to bring us all together. We are here today to make certain that from this point forward, we will all work together in a spirit of mutual respect and cooperation to achieve our goals. Now, in order to achieve a true sense of national unity, as Basil mentioned, we need to begin by bringing like-minded groups together to construct a roadmap for our community to follow. So the Conference of Presidents is creating the following 6 working groups to establish our goals going forward. Now, you may want to write these down, certainly commit them to memory. The first is the Reconnect Our Youth Working Group. The second is the Save Columbus Working Group. Third, Italian Language Working Group. The next one is the Charitable Activity Working Group. Next is the Italian Museum and Cultural Institution Working Group. And last but certainly not least is the Public Policy Working Group. Now, we encourage each of you to go to the new website, ItalianAmericaOnline.com, and sign up to serve on one or more of these committees. You will hear more about this website in greater detail later in this meeting. Finally, let's remember the words of Teddy Roosevelt. In any moment of decision, the best thing to do is the right thing. The second best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing to do is nothing. So let's not do nothing. Let's work together. And thank you for listening. Thank you for having us all here. And back to you, Basil.
Thank you, Frank. I'm now going to introduce a young man that many of you already know. At the age of 28, he served as a former president of the National Italian American Foundation. He's now the executive director of the National Columbus Education Foundation, vice president of the Italian Sons and Daughters of America, and the producer and host of the hugely popular Italian American podcast show, Mr. Joan Vivolo. John will talk about our need to reconnect with the younger generations of Italian Americans. John?
Thanks, Mr. Russo. And so what a pleasure to be with everybody here, see 330 some odd people together and answering a call to action. Before I talk about our youth, I just want to just shout out quickly a thank you to Frank Maselli for the spark that created all this, and a thank you to Stephanie Longo, who's works with us at the Italian American Podcast and has been integral in putting this all together. So a lot of hard work went into this. I appreciate everybody's patience. As Mr. Russo points out, I was 28 years old when I was hired at the National Italian American Foundation, and in my 6 years there, one of the issues that we encountered continually was the idea that young people didn't want to participate in the Italian American community. I can see, just scrolling through the list of names here, that myth is easily busted by some of the amazing young people started organizations like the Italian American Leadership Network and Italian Enclaves, Italian American Entertainment and Film and Television Foundation. I mean, there's so many great young people that I've had the pleasure of meeting in my years as a professional Italian American that just throw that whole mythology away. But that doesn't mean that it's an easy task to engage people of any age. And one of the things that I think we want to focus on subsequent to this meeting is exchanging best practices and strategies for all of the groups around the country who may be feeling the same way, that it's hard to engage young people. I think a token of leadership is finding where people are and meeting them where they are, as opposed to simply expecting them to come to where you are. And by that, I mean understanding that people of all generations communicate in different ways, participate in different ways, understand different models, and have different ideas of what membership means. If we were to search the thousands of Facebook groups dedicated to Italian American life, culture, history, society, there's millions of members that participate in these things every day, very, very excitedly. And it's a big part of their lives and their identity. It's not the same as signing up for a membership in a brick and mortar lodge. We need to be able to merge those things and those ways and those means of communication together. After I left NIAF after 6 years, I was very, very proud, most proud, I think, of the fact that in my last gala weekend, our under 35 demographic was about 30 to 32% of the participants. That's an incredible number for any Italian American organization, I think, and one that is really achievable. There are many, many means and ways to connect and support youth activities and initiatives. As Mr. Russo says, I am the producer and co-host of the Italian American podcast, which goes out every Tuesday to millions of Italian Americans around the world. It's a very, very accessible platform for people in all different types, on the computer, on your iPhone, on your iPad, whatever it is. And we've done a lot of work to get young people involved and to share the institutional community with them. At the same time, if you look at the success that the Italian Sons and Daughters of America has had, their Facebook website, there's 720 some odd thousand subscribers through those vehicles, and the interaction is incredible. We were very pleased to be able to produce a YouTube series for the ISDA that right off the bat is 150 to 200,000 views every episode that we premiered on that Facebook page. So the interest is there. It's just a matter of finding where people are. In order for the Italian American organizations here to be able to successfully improve youth outreach, the Conference of Presidents will establish a committee of experts to address the problem by offering specific recommendations to Italian American organizations. So we'll actually be able to offer assistance to smaller groups and help everyone that either doesn't have a social media presence or has a nascent social media presence grow that end of the engagement and the interaction with other groups and collectives of people of the younger demographic that are already out there. Partnerships between college groups in your area and your organization, things like that. We've done a lot of work so far to get there. If anyone out there has expertise in the area, we'd ask that you log back onto Italian America Online, and in the Contact Us section, just send a note that you would be willing to serve on a social media youth outreach committee in the comments area there. So hopefully we can garner a collection of talents and ideas from everyone on this call and grow these committees going forward. So, you know, the community is healthy. There's 18 point something million self-identified people in the last census who chose to take the time to write the word Italian or Italian American in the line around ethnicity. And there's a lot of very healthy organizations, as evidenced by this call here today, there to serve our community. So I think the future is very bright if we work together to find ways for people to participate. So thank you for the time, and I look forward to working with a lot of you in the future.
Thank you very much, John. We all appreciate the importance of engaging our younger generations, and we will devote the necessary time and attention to make sure that that's a goal that we accomplish. Our next speaker is Angelo Vivolo. Angelo is the president of the National Columbus Education Foundation. He's president of the Columbus Heritage Coalition, and he's chairman of the board of the Columbus Citizens Foundation, which sponsors New York City's Columbus Day Parade. Angelo will explain the conspiracy to vilify Columbus and the resources that the Italian American community has at its disposal to present the truthful story of Columbus. Angelo?
Hazel, thank you, and thank you all for being with us today and this incredible opportunity to speak to everyone. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that and how important it is for us all. For too many years, our community has been complacent, and we've had allowed a false negative narrative to go unchallenged about the legacy of Christopher Columbus. Starting with the writings of Howard Zinn, falsely blaming Columbus for slavery, genocide, the mistreatment of Native Americans, and the scapegoat for the European colonization of America. All unfounded accusations, none of which are true and are countered by respected, recognized, and established historians like Carol Delaney with her profound book, Columbus in Quest of Jerusalem, and Mary Grabar's book, Debunking Howard Zinn, and the writings by respected historians like Robert Pedron and many others. We will be working to expose the truth. Columbus never owned slaves. Slavery existed amongst the Native Americans long before Columbus ever arrived in the New World. Genocide is the intentional killing of people. The natives died from what we call a pandemic today because of the spread of disease that the natives had no immunity to. It happened in reverse when disease from the New World was introduced to the Old World. There are suggested toolkits for you to review and to use to preserve Columbus Day and the statues on the websites from many of the members of the Conference of Presidents of major Italian American organizations. These are there to help you in your community to address the lies that have been perpetuated on a misinformed public on the true legacy of Christopher Columbus. We tell our opponents to drop the hate and seek the truth. I am very excited that Basil Russo and the Conference of Presidents of major Italian American organizations has brought us all together to work in unity in preserving our great Italian American heritage and culture. You'll be able to find an accurate and truthful history of Columbus from a link to a documentary found on the website of the National Columbus Education Foundation. The documentary is called Courage and Conviction. It is a wonderful tool co-produced by the National Columbus Education Foundation and the Knights of Columbus, who have been great partners in our efforts to get the truth out to the public. Please view the short trailer of this excellent documentary, Courage and Conviction. I thank you for this great opportunity to speak with you all and wish you all well.
Thank you, Angelo.
Since the dawn of human history, humanity has desired to explore what lay beyond the far horizon. But wonder is often shackled by fear. For Christopher Columbus, faith and conviction inspired a voyage that will forever change our world.
Columbus's great voyage in 1492 is the dawning of a new age. The modern era is being ushered in by a daring visionary and giant of the Renaissance. Generations of Americans have looked to Columbus as one of the great heroes of history and as symbolizing the American spirit.
I think we have to recognize that that spirit of entrepreneurship and daring and imagination and persistence, Columbus is the guy who gives us a sense that there is one world that we all live in.
Columbus was a courageous person. His courage enabled the exchanges of culture that have shaped the world ever since.
Christopher Columbus was actually the first founding father of our country. You can no more ignore his contributions to our country than you can those of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln.
There are strong Marxist and anarchist elements that want to take down Columbus, not really because they care about Native Americans, but because they care about tearing down symbols of Western civilization.
Columbus was a fearless navigator, perhaps the best who ever lived. First and foremost, he was the discoverer of America. Certainly mistakes were made under his watch as governor, but now a radical, one-sided narrative says that Columbus represents all that is evil in the American experience. Simply put, that is false history. Judging Columbus from the perspective of ideology distorts both his motivations and his accomplishments.
Thank you, Angelo. The Columbus documentary is exceptionally well done, and in just the 28 minutes that it takes to watch it, you'll become an expert on the issue. You should then forward the video to all of the members of your organization, your family, your friends. What we need to remember is the truth is on our side. We just need to give it exposure. We should also never forget that Columbus Day celebrations and the efforts to erect Columbus statues were born as a response to the largest mass lynching in American history, when a mob of 5,000 people shot and lynched 11 Italian immigrants in New Orleans in 1891. Columbus celebrations were the Italian immigrants' attempt to create some semblance of dignity and self-worth for themselves at a time during which they were subjected to violence and hostility throughout our country. To them, Columbus stood as a beacon of light, welcoming immigrants from throughout the world who came to America seeking a better life for their families. Our next speaker is Robert Ferrito. Robert is the president of the Commission for Social Justice of the Order Sons and Daughters of Italy in America. The Commission for Social Justice is the oldest and the largest Italian-American anti-defamation association in our country. Robert will talk about what our community needs to do to save Columbus.
Basil, thank you. Thank you today. I have to tell you, I am so proud to be Italian-American today. I have to tell you, looking at how many participants, how many organizations we have on this summit, it's just, it warms my heart to know that we do have a direction to go to, and we are going to be successful. So, you know, we've seen violent mobs destroy Columbus statues in several cities throughout the country. We've seen the movement to grow to change the name of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. But what is so upsetting to the Italian-American community is that it's a misguided agenda. It's being promoted by radical revisionists whose arguments are based on outright lies and distortions. You just saw the video about Columbus. So in order to effectively combat this anti-American assault on Columbus, our heritage and history, all of the major Italian anti-defamation organizations, and just to name a few, the Commission for Social Justice, Order Sons and Daughters of Italy in America, One Voice Coalition headed by Dr. Manny Alfano, the Italian American Alliance headed by Dr. Frank Mazzaglia, and the Columbus Heritage Coalition headed by Angelo Vivolo. These are just a few. We need to begin coordinating our efforts to effectively promote our truthful agenda. So as a result, the Conference of Presidents is forming a national committee comprised of these organizations and any Italian-American organization who would like to join us. So in the next few weeks, we'll be holding a Zoom meeting to discuss how we can coordinate our activities. By that, I mean, when an issue arises, a call to action goes out, but it's going to go out to the entire country at one time. We'll have access to our elected officials. We'll provide emails to our elected officials so that we can effectively combat this attack. So if you'd like to be part of this great movement that has been put together by the Conference of Italian Presidents, I'd like you to go to ItalianAmericaOnline.com and register. Click the Contact Us section. Join me as I have a meeting in a few weeks. Bring your ideas, bring your suggestions, and be part of the greatest movement that we have not seen in many, many, many years on behalf of the Italian American community. Basil, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you very much, Robert. What we need to remember is that everyone every organization within the Conference of Presidents has always supported the creation and the celebration of an Indigenous Peoples Day. Every group is entitled to have a day to celebrate its culture and its heritage. What we strongly oppose are the efforts of radical revisionists who seek to rob our community of its Columbus Day celebrations through their contrived agenda, which is built on untruths and lies intended to demonize Columbus. The irony of the situation is that exactly 100 years ago, it was the Ku Klux Klan that spearheaded the efforts to abolish Columbus Day celebrations throughout our country. And when you examine what motivated the Klan then and what motivates the revisionists today, you will find a strong anti-Catholic, anti-Italian American sentiment at the root of both of their agendas. Our next presenter is a nationally renowned attorney, George Bocchetto, who's doing an outstanding job of representing the Italian American communities in lawsuits in both the cities of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh to make sure that the Italian American communities are able to retain their Columbus statues. George will discuss the outrageous action recently taken by the mayor of Philadelphia and what our community needs to do to respond to it. George?
Thank you very much, Hazel. If I'm just having a little technical difficulty here. Hold on one moment, please. Is that better?
It is.
I have had the privilege of working with Basil Russo in connection with the Columbus statute in Pittsburgh. I've also been honored to represent the 1492 Society in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which itself is singularly responsible for producing Columbus Day parades and Columbus celebrations and that type of thing. Unfortunately, in Philadelphia, we have been subjected to a mayor who has completely lost his way and who is radically trying to punish the Italian community with efforts to remove our Columbus statues, which we've been able to prevent so far with litigation, and most recently to pass an executive order designed to eliminate Columbus Day as a holiday and replace it with Indigenous Day. I've been doing a good deal of research in this area, and I believe that he's violating the United States Constitution, the Equal Protection Clause, and Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act. And I think we need to make a very strong stand as a community. All national organizations, I urge you to let's get behind litigation, challenging this outrageous act, because if we don't stand up and if we don't fight it, it'll continue to spread throughout the country, and we will all be the victims of it. So I intend to join the Columbus Working Group Committee of this great new organization that we're putting together. And I am pledging to be every bit a part and contribute everything I can to fighting this cancel culture and this outrageous assault on Italians.
George, thank you. George has been a true champion for the Italian American community. We're very fortunate to have an attorney with his expertise and his dedication to our community working on our behalf. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you, Basil.
Our next presenter is a very active and influential Italian American. John Calvelli is President Emeritus of the Conference of Presidents. He also serves as Vice President of the National Italian American Foundation and Vice President of the National Columbus Education Foundation. John will explain the importance of our new website, ItalianAmericaOnline.com, how to register individuals and organizations on the website. John?
You're muted, John.
There you go. I think, am I unmuted now? Got it. Thank you. Good day, everybody. As I heard all the speakers today, an old Italian expression came to mind, l'unione fa la forza. In unity, there is strength. And I think as we think about that, I wanted to just give a second to a shout out to my dear friend, Congressman Tom Suozzi, who's on the line. Tom, are you there? Okay, I wanted to give him a chance if you'd like to say hello.
Thank you, John. Thanks very much.
All right. Well, Tom is here, and I think it speaks to his commitment to the Italian American community and his commitment to the issues. But one of the questions that always comes up is we get on these calls, we care about these issues. What can we do? How can we engage with public officials to make sure that our voice is heard? And you've heard it mentioned a couple of times. I'm going to ask Stephanie Longo if she can put it up. ItalianAmericaOnline.com. Stephanie, why don't we just go directly to the website? And we need to figure out a way. John Viola mentioned it. We need to be looking at new ways of engaging with the public. Well, tutti insieme, all together. ItalianAmericanOnline.com gives you an ability to help us build this collection of individuals, this commitment that we as a community are going to make. Why don't we just go in on 4 organizations or 4 individuals just to show how simple it is. We have put together basically a set of questions to gather information. I think Dr. DeFrank mentioned a set of committees. You've heard those working groups. If you scroll to the bottom, after you give the information, you can decide which ones do you want to be involved with. The bottom line is we have to build this from the bottom up. We need all of you, all of these organizations coming together and saying, I want to be part of this. We're going to do this from the top and from the bottom, grass tops and grassroots. Once we've built this collection, these names, once we have this information, we can start to inform members of Congress, elected officials. We can engage them directly. The conference is in the process of purchasing software that will allow us to communicate directly with members of Congress. We're concerned, and we should be, about our heritage and losing our heritage. The only way we're going to be able to do it is by doing it together. This website gives us that opportunity to collect some of that information and share that information back out with you. So look forward to working with you in the months and years ahead, perché l'unione fa la forza. In unity, there is strength. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I'll next introduce to you Linda Carlozzi. Linda serves as chair of the Italian Welfare League. She's also on the executive committee, serving as secretary of the National Italian American Foundation, and she's a former board member of the National Organization of Italian American Women. Linda will talk to us about the important role Italian American women have had in preserving our heritage. Linda?
Good afternoon. It is so wonderful. Thank you, Basil. It's so wonderful to see so many of you online. It's been just about a year, and hopefully soon we'll be able to meet together. Thank you, Basil, for this opportunity. So where do I begin with the impact of Italian American women? For me, I begin with Senator Geraldine Ferraro, who was the first female vice presidential candidate, and it would be 25 years before another woman was added to a major party as a VP candidate, and that was Sarah Palin. And as you all know, it would take even longer before the first female vice president would be elected. But certainly Vice President Kamala Harris may be the first, she will not be the last. From so many various industries, Italian American women have excelled in their fields, and they have made tremendous inroads. Nancy Pelosi, who was the first female Speaker of the House, elected twice as the Speaker of the House. Currently, Governor Gina Raimondo, who was the first female governor of Rhode Island, who has now been tapped by President Biden as Commerce Secretary, and her nomination is currently pending. Here in New York, my home state, Matilda Cuomo, who founded Mentoring USA, which has now become part of Help USA, which is headed by Maria Cuomo Cole, another outstanding Italian American who is a film producer in her own right and very well-known philanthropist here in New York. Rosa DeLauro, Susan Molinari, Connie Morella, Marge Rokema, all legislators who come to mind as outstanding Italian American women. But in business, in science, in government, in law, Italian American women have been the first in many things. In my home state of Connecticut, the first female governor elected in her own right was Ella T. Grasso. She was a role model for me. And If I look at business, Patricia Russo, who was the CEO of Lucent Technologies. And Barbara Turf. Yes, Barbara Turf is an Italian-American woman who was the CEO of Crate and Barrel. And I think of Rosemary Bravo, who's somebody I've always admired. She was the CEO of Saks Fifth Avenue and then took over the Burberry brand and made a remarkable, phenomenal turnaround for the Burberry brand. And she still serves as vice chair of that organization. Actresses, singers, musicians, Patti LuPone, Ariana Grande, Stephanie Germanotta, also known affectionately as Lady Gaga. All of these women have excelled in their fields. On this call today, Adriana Trigiani, a noted author and writer and a phenomenal speaker, by the way. So from the arts to science to law to business to government, Italian-American women have made a tremendous impact. I would be remiss if I didn't highlight my mentor and one of my role models who is on this call. She was the first chair of the Conference of Presidents, but she also founded the National Organization of Italian-American Women and served as chair for 25 years, Aileen Riotto Sairi. And today, Maria Tambori, who I believe is also on the call, who chairs the National Organization of Italian-American Women. These are just to name a few, and they have been role models in my life. And I also want to close with a remembrance. On March 25th, 1911, many Italian immigrant women perished in New York in the Triangle Shirt Factory fire. Their lives were not in vain. It led to many reforms in health and safety in the workplace, and indeed, it is the beginning of the organized labor movement. This March 25th marks 110 years. And I want to close with that and remember those women, especially in honor of my mother, who is a seamstress. And she has been my #1 role model. So with that, I'll close and thank you again, Basil.
Great job, Linda. Thank you. Next, I'm going to ask Joan Prezioso, who serves as president of the Italian American Welfare League, to acknowledge some of the major organizations and prominent Italian Americans who are participating in today's meeting.
Thank you, Basil. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conference. The Conference of Presidents is pleased to acknowledge a few of the important Italian American leaders who are representing prominent organizations at today's meeting. Dr. Aileen Riotto Sairi, founder and president emeritus of the National Organization of Italian American Women and former president of the Conference of Presidents. Honorable Patricia Di Stacy Harrison, president of the National Italian American Foundation. Joseph Sciame, president of the Sons of Italy Foundation. Dr. Joseph Schulze, founder and president of the Italian American Museum in New York City. Dr. Manny Alfano, founder and president of the One Voice Coalition. Dr. Frank Mazzaglia, founder and chairman of the board of the Italian American Alliance. Ron Onesti, president of the Joint Civic Committee of Italian Americans in Chicago. William Cerutti, executive director of the Italian American Cultural Center in Sacramento, California. Charles Marsala, president of the American Italian Federation of the Southeast. Robert Petrone, historian and author of Christopher Columbus, the greatest hero of the 15th and 16th centuries. Mariana Gatto, founder and curator of the Italian American Museum of Los Angeles. Professor Santi Buscemi, treasurer of the Conference of Presidents. Nancy Di Fiore Quinn, president of the Order Sons and Daughters of Italy in America. Gina Biancardi, founder and president of the Italian Cultural Foundation at Casa Belvedere. A special thanks is extended to the following 3 individuals who played an important role in organizing this meeting. Actually, it's 4 individuals, I'm sorry. Frank Maselli, president of the American Italian Museum of New Orleans, who, along with Basil Russo, initiated the idea to hold this National Italian American Summit meeting. Stephanie Longo, producer of the Italian American podcast, provided all the technical expertise for today's meeting. Rosemary DeLuca, secretary of the Conference of Presidents, spent countless hours coordinating this meeting. And Ryan Kerr, our intern, who provided all of the research. We are pleased to acknowledge some prominent elected officials with us today, including Congressman Tom Suozzi of New York, Los Angeles Councilman Joe Buscaino, and Philadelphia Councilman Mark Squilla. On behalf of the elected officials, we would like Congressman Tom Suozzi to say a few words. Thank you all.
Thank you, Joan. Buongiorno. Sono molto contento di essere qui con voi per questo incontro. I'm very happy to be with you for this meeting. I can't tell you how excited I am. This is so awesome that we are getting together like this. I have waited for this my lifetime to see all these wonderful people that I recognize. So many of you on this call, a lot of you I don't recognize. That we're together like this is something we've needed to do for a long time. And I just want to applaud all of you for pulling this together. I'm so excited to fight together to make sure that we protect Columbus and his reputation. My father was born in Italy. He came to the United States as a young boy. I'm a first generation American. And he was the first kid in the neighborhood to go to college. He fought in World War II as a navigator on a B-24, got the Distinguished Flying Cross. And he came back home and went to Harvard Law School. And despite the fact that he went to Harvard Law School in the 1940s, he couldn't get a job at a law firm because Italians were so discriminated against, because we had just been fighting Mussolini and the fascists, and because of the mafia and everything else. And he had to fight his whole life against the discrimination. He went on to become a local lawyer, and he became the youngest judge in the history of New York State at 28 years old. When I was a kid growing up, like you, all of you, and your children and grandchildren, but when you were growing up and you did the drawings of the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and you learned about Columbus, you had no sense of that discrimination. This was a national holiday that you learned about in school, and you had no sense that Italians were still so discriminated against in this country, and it changed things dramatically. We have to do everything we can to fight against the inaccuracies and the untruths that exist. I've introduced a resolution 2 times in Congress to support Columbus Day, but it was a very lonely effort, quite frankly. I can't tell you how important it is that we are organizing like this with all the different groups to work together. Last thing I'll say, because Basil told me this is going to be a very short meeting, and I'm glad it's been run so professionally. Basil, thank you so much for doing such a great job. All of you for organizing this so well. But my grandfather used to give advice at the family weddings, and one of the things he would say is, "Non ci sono rose senza spine." You can't have a rose without the thorns. You can't have the beautiful things in life without the suffering as well. You wouldn't know what the good things were without the suffering as well. We've all had our share of thorns this past year. It's been in the national news and the newspapers, the TV, our local communities, people suffering, our families, people died. I lost my father-in-law to coronavirus back last April. We've had it. We've had enough thorns. Today, we're celebrating the roses of life, the best part of life, when people from all over our country, all different backgrounds, all different organizations, inspired by a love of their history, inspired by a love of their families and their traditions, are coming together to fight for something we all believe in. We've done a bad job of this throughout our history as Italian Americans. I know that from life experience. This is a fantastic effort. Mille grazie, sempre avanti. Thank you so much for doing this.
Tom, thank you. We're proud to have strong leaders such as yourself who value our heritage and who are willing to stand with us and defend us. Thank you very much.
I'll do whatever I can to help this effort. Anything I can do, I'll be there.
Thank you.
Especially now that I know I've got an army behind me.
Now let's take a moment and think about what it is that brought us together today. Sure, we all understand the benefits of establishing a strong sense of national unity, and we all appreciate the importance of reconnecting with our younger generations. And we know that our community is not being treated fairly in the way our country is addressing the Columbus controversy. But what is it that motivates each of us to devote so much of our time and energy to the Italian-American community and the issues that confront it? I know what motivates me, and I think it's what motivates most of you. We all feel a need to honor the memories of those of our parents and grandparents who are no longer with us. We want them to know that we miss them. We want them to know that we love them. We want them to know what an important impact they had on each of our lives. And hopefully someday, those that we've raised and loved will feel the same way about each of us. Because as Italian Americans, the building block that supports our entire culture is our strong devotion to our families. On that note, let me say that I believe we've gotten off to a really great start today. Let's all go to Italian America Online and register our names and register the names of the members of our organizations as well. Then let's volunteer to serve on these respective committees that we're forming. And then let's all plan on getting back together again a few months from now so that we can keep this mission and the excitement that we've generated today alive. Thank you all for your support. Just remember, today, each of our groups has developed friendships with 350 other organizations. And those relationships are what will allow us to bind our community together and be successful in our future endeavors. We'll see you all in a few months. Stay safe, stay healthy.